What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, because I actually got into the very tiny closed beta that's currently going on, and I've been playing the heck out of it. This is a complete remake of Final Fantasy VII's entire saga, called the Compilation. For those who don't know this, but I'm a huge Final Fantasy mega fan, so I'm actually very curious about the fact that the universe of Final Fantasy VII has had prequels like Crisis Core, sequels like Advent Children. Well, Ever Crisis is taking the entirety of the Final Fantasy VII saga and making it into a turn-based RPG, which, I gotta love. But let's talk about the goods and the bads, because this is a mobile game. It's something you play on your cell phone, and it's got sort of that cell phone vibe to it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, first and foremost, let's discuss how this game looks, because I have to say, graphically, I am incredibly shocked. Everything you see here is being captured on a Google Pixel 6. The game itself looks fantastic. The cutscenes, a lot of them are taken from other versions of these games, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake. You're going to see cutscenes similar to that when you're getting pre-rendered CGI. But when you drop into the maps themselves and start to actually see, the conversations and the combat, these are a completely new art style, almost a mix of like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 style chibi graphics. A lot of these character models, a lot of this hand-drawn character art when they're having conversations. It's pretty impressive for the fact that this is running on a mobile platform. Now, as it currently exists, there isn't voice acting or anything. It's all just silent little text boxes, but I think that's kind of cool. I mean, maybe later on when this game actually comes out, it'll be fully voiced, but I kind of get the feeling that this is it. As it stands, though, I'm totally fine with it. I think it's cool that there is so much additional dialogue. There's a lot of times where there's conversations that have extra lines that did not exist in the original game, fleshing out little extra details that were skimmed over. It seems like because this is a big meshing together of the entire Final Fantasy VII compilation, they're able to acknowledge extra events and details and characters that in the original version didn't exist yet. Like when Final Fantasy VII came out back on the PS1, obviously there was no Crisis Core and stuff. So now, because we're having the advantage of history, Ever Crisis does a better job of kind of acknowledging the entire universe of FF7 as it currently exists. But now let's talk about combat. This is definitely the best part of the game, and also once we start to get into the microtransactions, we're going to talk about the worst part of it. So this is obviously a turn-based RPG, but you only control one character at once. You do have a party of threes. You can play with like Tifa and Red 13 and Barrett and stuff like that, but while you're doing this, you only pick a singular character to direct. So for all my gameplay, I pretty much just played as Cloud. The characters do their basic attacks automatically, but you can choose to basically save up energy and do a big strike. As you build up energy, you can choose to do a critical strike, a ruin hit, or throw a particular piece of magic, and there is stuff like elemental weaknesses. So you do need to actually think about which target you want to hit and who you want to take down first. Like if there's an attack dog or something that's doing a lot of damage, you can have your partner focus them down first. Now, what really impressed me the most is that the combat feels fantastic. This feels like classic Final Fantasy. This does actually have that vibe of just trying to hit and dodge and think critically in the middle of a fight, including when it comes to boss fights. These are more than just enemies with extra health. They have this block system. Enemies will pretty much put up like a protect barrier that you need to break through to open them up to extra strong attacks. And you have different stances as well. You can have an attack stance or a defense stance to really actually change the nature of a fight. Now, what's cool is I think it's interesting. You can choose to affect the battle speed. You can turn on auto battle. I like the fact that there's so many different options to make this extra accessible. I think the fighting in this is neat. But this does bring me to the leveling system, which definitely is not my style. You see, in this, you have essentially like a power level, how strong your character is. It's a combination of your weapon level, how strong your materia is, and what your current level is. Now, unfortunately, in this current version of the game, it's very difficult to just grind in a mission the way you would in a normal Final Fantasy game. Instead, in between the major quests, you go and do what's called solo missions. These are just like little tinier tasks of, trying to kill 5 or 6 guys, or sometimes just doing a short battle gauntlet. And these have very big XP rewards. These give you crafting materials to very much power level particular weapons and stuff. This is how you get stronger, so you're allowed to progress. Each mission of the story mode really scales very high on power level, so you need to grind the solo quests in between most of the major missions. And what sucks about this is that there is a stamina system. Essentially, your character gets exhausted. It means that you can only play this game's solo missions so many times in a day. You're actually going to either have to buy microtransactions to keep leveling up, or take a nice long 12-hour break and go back to grind some more, or buy the microtransactions to refill your stamina meter. Now, this is just typically how microtransaction game works. This is like a typical cell phone game, but as a person who doesn't really like mobile games, it does feel weird to have the game basically stop you from having fun until you wait or pay for that microtransaction. Now, the other aspect of the sort of pay to win you can do here is the gacha. Now, this is a very common term. It means like randomization. There's loot boxes to get additional gear, better weapons, better equips, better big stuff that's going to give you extra defense and stuff. Now, getting this, they call them draws. Whenever you're exploring in main missions and going through the dungeons and stuff, when you open up chests, instead of just directly giving you, that next weapon or a big potion or something like that, they give you tickets to do more draws. Everything is based on random weapons. You never know if you're going to get the ultimate weapon or some crazy crystal sword or an outfit that makes you look like a samurai. It's all completely random, which means sometimes you're going to get god tier weapons, which are great to upgrade, and sometimes you're going to get utter garbage. So as it currently exists, this game is definitely pay to win if you want it to be, like most cell phone games. You could just straight up pay for a bunch of stamina potions, power level yourself up, and then buy a bunch of gacha to get super weapons right at the beginning of the game, and a bunch of upgrade materials to really power level your weapons, and then breeze through the entire game. I guess the weirdness is that this is cool that I can play Crisis Core and Advent Children and Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier all as typical RPGs. You can finally see the entire story of Final Fantasy VII in one big bulk chunk with a standardized gameplay style. It's just weird to me that you're going to have to either wait or pay for a lot of microtransactions. I was kind of hoping this game would be more about costume microtransactions instead of like constantly having to pay to level up. But you know what? I guess it's the price we got to deal with. It's a cell phone game. That's just what they're going to do with it. As it currently exists, this is only on cell phones. This is a tiny closed beta test, but I did have fun with it. I'm not sure I'm going to even bother playing all the way to the end of all the different games, or if I'm going to play it when it eventually comes out. I kind of wish this was on consoles. I kind of wish this was on like PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch, because I feel like I'd be more reminded to play it in those short bursts of like, oh yeah, let me log in and do my daily dungeons. Let me get a couple gachas. Let me try a couple pulls to see if I get that next weapon. But playing it on my phone, I'm just not a phone person. The only time I'm on my phone is to practice my German lessons, because ich bin Max. But, I don't know. I just think this is a really weird project that is mostly successful. But have you guys had a chance to try the Ever Crisis beta? Did you actually get into it? As a Final Fantasy fan, how do you feel about it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.